Hello viewers, for DIYers here, back with another tutorial video for everyone. In this particular video here, I'll be showing you how to cut and install liners in your toolbox. There are various types on the market available. Some are a rubber, vinyl, or a foam style. I'm not a huge fan of the foam style, as I do find it's hard to keep clean and it can also tear easier. This can be purchased online at your local hardware store, a tool supplier, or even some of the big box stores will have this. This particular rubber is labeled as a toolbox liner, but it can sometimes be labeled as a floor liner or mat. This will prevent your tools from sliding around to a certain extent, makes the drawers easier to clean, and most importantly protects the drawers. Depending on your toolbox size, this will determine how much is required. I purchased about 20 feet as I lined most of the largest toolbox, along with another smaller toolbox and my machinist box. This style of liner I'm using also has a ribbing. Keeping this running in the same direction also affects the quantity. I'm still in the process of organizing my tools, which is why not all the drawers are organized and the toolbox isn't fully filled yet. First is measuring the drawers. Toolbox designs do vary. Some drawers may have the same dimensions, which makes the process a little easier. You may have rolled edges on the top or folded edges on the bottom where the mat will sit. These are things which you'll need to take into account when measuring. Try to use the same tape measure for the whole process if you want to ensure a tight fit, or at least make sure you do have two the same tape measures which have the same accuracy. Not all tape measures have the same accuracy, so be mindful of that. You can use the hook on the tape, but you can also start at the 1 inch or 10 centimeter measurement first. Just make sure your numbers are recorded correctly. This helps with some accuracy. The hook can sometimes have accuracy issues, either from use, or even damage. As for which measurement base to use, if you're more comfortable using metric, for the most part, it's the more accurate option. Not all tape measures have a 1/32 of an inch increment, or it's only up to a certain distance, such as 6 inches on this tape measure. 1/16 of an inch is equal to about 1.5 millimeters, therefore it's not as accurate. If you have a folded over edge on the bottom, measure the thickness of the metal used on your drawers and subtract that from your measurements on the top of your drawers. With the color being black, it can be hard to see any markings, so I would recommend using tape to mark out the cut points. Pencil or a fine tip pen can be used. Considering this was cut from a roll, there's a good chance it may end up not square, so that'll need to be fixed, which I've already done here. A square is a big help for checking any cuts or marks. The larger the better. If you don't have a square, you can take a diagonal measurement instead. This is the 3-4-5 method. This can be done using metric or imperial. The larger the dimension, the more accuracy you'll have. The bottom corner would be 90 degrees. Measure 3 up, either in metric or imperial, 4 over, then the final measurement is 5. You can double these numbers to 6, 8, 10, or even multiply by 10, which would be 30, 40, 50. As for cutting, due to the colder weather outside, I'm doing this indoors. The rubber is much easier to work with when it's warm. A razor knife will give a clean straight cut. Just make sure you do have new blades or change as needed. The backer I'm using for cutting is just a large strip of spring steel. This is just to protect the floor. You may consider using a smooth wood backer or even a cutting mat. Once you have those marks in place, using a ruler, make the cut. With the large span, a mistake can be made, so take your time. I used my foot to hold the ruler in place on the opposite side, and before removing the ruler, make sure the rubber is fully cut. Otherwise it can be tricky matching up the same cut line. Working out your cut points can be a little tricky. I have found this at times. You may need to make a thin cut on the opposite side, so you're not cutting directly on top of the rib. Typically I'll make my cuts 1 millimeter or 1/32 of an inch smaller than my drawer measurements. This will give the mat a little movement with the temperature variations and take into account if the drawers are out of square. Before the mat gets installed, I always clean the drawers. The large toolbox and the machinist box will eventually get restored, however it's a spot where I can organize my tools. When the mat is stored on the roll, it does have a tendency to keep its curved shape, especially in the cooler weather, so it does take time to flatten out. It's best to place heavy items on top of the mat so it doesn't catch up on the drawers until it's flattened out. If any oil, grease, or dirt gets into these drawers, the mats can be easily removed and washed. If you have a new toolbox, this will even protect the drawers from any harsh chemicals. New videos are released every week on my channel. Be sure to hit that thumbs up button. It's a huge help to me, and leave a comment below if you found this tutorial helpful. And if you're not a subscriber, be sure to hit that subscribe button. Thank you for watching.